9, 8, 7. We have a go for main engine start. 4, 3, 2, 1, and liftoff.
What is up, SFL Nation and Esports Nation? I have here with me a fantastic newfound friend. He and I have been conversing via email in regards to an inquiry I was looking into. His name is Mr. Zak Surlin. He is the account executive for APM Music. How are you doing, sir?
I am doing well. 1 second here. I have some audio playing. I'm trying to turn off. 1 sec.
No, you're fine. Take your time. If it's some good music, hey, we'll just play it during the show. It's all right, you know?
Okay, there we go. Yeah, I'm doing well. It's a beautiful day here in Los Angeles, and life is good. Can't complain.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for taking some time out of your day to be here with us. I am a member of the Simulation Football League, which is one of the partners for the APM Music Group. And it's been wonderful. You've been helping us out a lot. So I think it's interesting for us to get to know a little bit about the company more in depth by someone that represents it. So.
Sure. Yeah, just to give some background of APM. So APM stands for Associated Production Music, and we actually started in 1983, so we go pretty far back. It was originally started in New York. It was really a combination of originally two libraries, which is KPM and the Bruton Library. One of them is owned by Universal. Universal Music Publishing, and the other is owned by Sony Music Publishing. So we started off with two libraries. Now we have about over 150. So we're a pretty big catalog. We're actually the largest production music catalog in North America and perhaps even the world. I got to double check that. We have over 1 million tracks now representing 190 different countries. And basically, we handle the licensing in the United States and Canada, and we specialize in production music. So what does that mean? Production music is essentially music that enhances a variety of productions, so films, esports. We're in a lot of video games, for example, a lot of TV shows. So anything that pretty much all your listeners have heard us, I'm sure, at some point. We're in so many films, so many TV shows. We were in 29 of the Oscar nominees this year, for example. And we're in a lot of Super Bowl commercials.
Wow.
We're all around.
That's incredible. That's incredible. So what was the idea behind APM Music?
So I wasn't around back then, but from what I understand, it was, to secure licenses for songs, it can be kind of complicated. So we try to make it simple. We have a big catalog, as I mentioned, but the beauty of it especially is not only is our music, in my opinion, pretty good, but we also own 100% of the distribution rights of both the master side and the publishing side. So there's a lot of catalogs out there that only have one of the two. We're a one-stop shop, so it makes it easy from a legal perspective to use our tracks in different projects. So our goal is to make it as easy as possible to license the best music, essentially.
And apparently you're number one in that category already. So kudos.
We try.
So what does it mean to have an APM account? And how does one obtain an account with you all?
So an account is basically anyone who has a license with us, I'd say. So I, for example, work with a wide variety of different clients. I work with a lot of freelancers, for example, to universities, nonprofit organizations, also ad agencies and bigger corporations as well. So there's a wide variety, and I'd say anyone who has an account is someone who's licensed something from us. There's no license necessary to just take a look and set up an account. So if anyone's interested in just taking a look and to see what we have, make some playlists and things like that, that's in some way considered an account as well. So yeah, just anyone who wants music or is licensed music, I'd say.
Okay, so who should sign up for APM Music? Should the small podcaster try? Because you have so many, it could be a little daunting knowing that you have so many larger clients. Is it recommended?
It is. I would say it definitely is. From personal experience, as I said, I work with a wide variety. Mm-hmm. So all the tracks in our catalog essentially cost the same. The pricing only differs based on the clearances that are needed. So if you're a small-time podcaster, our fees are going to be tremendously lower than if you're Google, for example, which is a client, or the NFL or HBO, who are also clients. So we take all of that into consideration. So the usage, the anticipated exposure. So yeah, anyone's welcome.
Okay, so can you explain what a needle drop is?
So a needle drop's an old school term that we still use. I think it still applies quite a bit. So I always try to explain it. You can think of it as like a needle dropping on a vinyl player. So it's like every time the track plays or loops, or if the track plays like a full time, stops for a little bit and then starts again later, that's another needle drop in the music licensing world.
Okay, wonderful. Now, the music that we would be using is licensed. So let's say if I post something on YouTube and I am flagged for copyright, how is that situation handled?
So good question. So the technology has gotten so good with YouTube. So they use what's called digital fingerprint technology, which is also what Shazam uses. So they're able to look at the millions, if not billions of videos and take a catalog like ours and instantly match whether or not one of our digital assets is a part of a video. And they'll automatically flag that per our request because we need to protect our composer's rights. And in the event that does occur, if the person has a license with us, we can instantly release that. So yeah, it's a matter of protecting our assets essentially.
Okay, awesome. So how does one pay for the service?
So I'd say the best way is to create an account. You can register on the site for no cost. And then typically what will happen is based on the information that you put in, you'll be assigned to a certain representative. And then from there, the representative will reach out and try to find out more about what you're working on, et cetera. And then based on that criteria, we'll ask, hey, what kind of project are you working on or projects? What's the usage you anticipate? What are the clearances that you need? Is this a local TV commercial? Is this a worldwide TV commercial? Is this a podcast? If it's a podcast, how many, listeners do you anticipate? Things of that nature. And then once we get that information, we can provide, a quote for the license. And then we'll, if that sounds good, if the person has a track or tracks that they want to use, they can let us know, and then we'll just confirm certain information to create the license and the invoice, which are usually the same document. What's the title of the project? What's the track that you're using? And once we have that information confirmed, we'll send the actual license itself.
Okay, interesting. Now, do you all have sound effects?
We do. So we have quite a bit of sound effects. We also have a lot of what's called sound design. So, which is sort of like, it's a little bit, I don't know how else to describe it, but it's like fancier sound effects. So like even more sort of detailed, your whooshes and your like whoosh kind of thing. So long story short, yeah, we have both sound effects and sound design.
Phenomenal. Now, how often, that you notice, I'm not sure if you all keep track of how often that actually people use that, those effects versus songs versus actual music.
I'm not aware of the numbers. From personal experience, I'd say I mainly get song requests, but every now and then I'll get someone who wants, a whoosh. So that's also something that we can do as well. With our blanket licenses, that's all included too. So if someone wants the ability to use both without any restrictions, we offer that as well.
Wonderful. So if you don't mind, what are the different types of licenses that you all offer?
Sure. So in a nutshell, we have 3 different kinds, one of which is the needle drop license. So 1 track, 1 use, 1 time. We also have what's called a production license. So a production license is essentially unlimited needle drops throughout one project. So if you have a video that's like a half hour long or a podcast that's an hour long and you want a bunch of needle drops, but you don't want to have to pay each time because it's not cost effective, I would recommend the production license. It's heavily discounted versus going just per needle drop. And then we also have a blanket license. So a blanket license is essentially unlimited needle drops in unlimited projects, or unlimited needle drops in up to a certain number of projects. So there's a wide variety. It depends on, what people's needs are, which varies quite a bit. So
awesome. Now, how often does new music gets added to the library?
Good question. So we add on average 250 new albums every 6 weeks, which is unheard of in the industry. Honestly, it's quite a lot.
Indeed.
And at the same time, the music's only as good if it's great having that much music, but if you can't find it, it doesn't help anyone. So we also invest a lot in our metadata as well. So every time we add a track, we're coordinating with the libraries that are giving us those tracks and making sure that they're tagging it right. Like if it's a hip hop track, if it's a yacht rock track, we have a million different genres too. So we try to get as specific as possible so that even someone who wants something, but they don't even know how to explain it, they can still find it is our goal. And I think we do it pretty well already. So you can type in happy and you'll get happy music. So it all comes down to good tagging. So yeah.
Okay. And I had one more, let me see. It was actually a couple more. Do we have to give APM credit? Like if they're in the descriptions or when we're putting out our items?
Good question. So, especially for the major films, the major TV shows, the big ads, they will submit an ad agency or a filmmaker, they'll need to submit a cue sheet. And on the cue sheet, it'll say the tracks that were used, this particular track IDs, at what point in the production did that occur, and things of that nature. And then we utilize that information to pay our composers properly. So unlike some other libraries out there, we do believe in supporting our composers. And I frankly think that's why we have some of the best ones, because we give about half of our licensing fees to them. So that's the purpose of reporting. And for, if it's sort of a smaller project where the exposure isn't as high, we always appreciate if you can incorporate, somewhere, anywhere that's feasible, music courtesy of APM Music. Our composers appreciate that too, because, the more that people are able to see other works by the same composer, it helps support our composers. So
phenomenal. Okay. So tell me, Zach, is APM Music a royalty-free or a buyout library?
Very good question. So the idea of a royalty, we actually talked about this in a meeting the other day, because when you're paid royalties for something, you have to pay, like, for example, like the guy who made the, I don't know if you ever play Xbox. The sound that's made when you log in?
Yes.
The guy who made that sound still gets paid on that one little noise. I think he's made millions of dollars on that one little noise. So, which is crazy. So that would be someone who's collecting royalties on an ongoing basis. So while we do accept, we do pay our artists royalties, but our clients are not responsible for those royalties. We're responsible for paying them on an ongoing basis, depending on who licenses their music. So there's a difference. So, because sometimes if I'll tell a client or a potential client that we are not, or I'll tell them that we're not royalty free, sometimes they misinterpret that and they think, oh, I'm going to have to start paying this person on an ongoing basis for a track I used 5 years ago. That's not how it works. We make sure that artist gets compensated and that the client only pays one time. So it's a little not too straightforward of an answer, but it's just how it is. So yeah, overall, we do pay our artists royalties, but it's on our responsibility, not the clients.
Okay. So I have about 2 more questions for you.
Cool.
What are some risks when you don't obtain the proper licensing when using music?
Good question. So you can get sued for copyright infringement, which happens. Sometimes they'll use a track thinking that there's no risk involved. They'll say, oh, I found it online, so isn't it, or if it's a public domain track, doesn't that mean I can use it for free? So going by the public domain example, there's a lot of compositions, like stuff by Bach, Beethoven. The composition rights are in the public domain. The master recording rights, the particular recordings, are not. So we have a lot of tracks like that, a lot of classical music, for example, that was written hundreds of years ago. So if someone wants to record their own version of Bach's Ninth Symphony, or Beethoven, actually, yeah, Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, they wouldn't need a license, but if they want to use a recording from our catalog, they will. So there are risks involved. People have been sued before. And I think that's the beauty of using someone like APM, is because we guarantee indemnification for all of our clients, and most catalogs do not, or they charge an extra fee too. So even if someone makes the claim that you used one of our tracks inappropriately and they try to sue the user, APM will stand and defend you even if the claim is completely invalid. So that's something we take very seriously, and we realize that's one of the key things key value that we create for our clients. The actual risk, I'm not totally familiar with what the penalties can be, but people do get sued, and it's not fun. So it's important to be careful about that.
Yeah, indeed. Just go ahead and try to either get permission from the artist, or just go and just be careful. I've actually gotten in trouble with my podcast a couple times, so just have to take it off. So. Yeah,
I mean, with a lot of big, like our goal is never to sort of catch people and be like, gotcha, you owe us a bunch of money. If we do find that someone's doing that, what we'll do is politely reach out and just say, hey, I'm not sure if you're aware, but we have the distribution rights for that piece of music. So you're more than welcome to use it, but you just need to secure a license to continue using it. We're not going to send people and, send the SWAT team on people and stuff like that.
The only thing that happened to me was that YouTube would not allow the podcast to come out until that track was taken off. And I literally had to go back and redo it and take it off. And so.
Yeah. They try to make it hard because there's a lot of people who want to make a living on music.
Right.
And they can't do it if everyone's just taking it. So
it makes perfect sense. But it's I know that I didn't sing this song. That I didn't sing this song. But I totally understand. It's very easy to, back in the day when we had the CDs and everything, people were burning CDs and getting everyone's albums, and then they'll have it the same day the album drops, and it was crazy. So I understand the logistics behind it. But if I'm a composer and I want to give APM Music my music to use, am I allowed to do that?
Good question. So that comes up a lot. I probably get a composer request at least once a day. And I always want to help composers. I empathize with them. The thing is, we currently already have so much music. And the thing is, so we're a big catalog, and we partner with over 150 different libraries. So if a composer wants to write for us, my best advice would be to reach out to the libraries that we represent. So if they take you on, we essentially become your publisher, and we'll distribute your music for you and sell it for you. But to really do that, you should reach out to the libraries in particular. And I would recommend, you can see all the libraries we represent on our website. And I would think, if you write hip hop tracks, I would try to find the libraries that focus on hip hop, and I would reach out to those. The more people you contact, it's a numbers game, the more likely you will to get secured by one of them. So that would be my advice. If you have some really cool, rare archival recordings, which they don't make anymore because they're only recordings that were recorded at least, I think it's before 1985 or something like that. If you have some really rare recordings, then we very much welcome people reaching out to us directly, because we're always trying to get more of those, because we have a great selection of it as it is, but we always like more. Also, there's a few other criteria. Let me just take a quick peek at this.
Yeah, take your time.
Yeah.
Because I have friends, and I'm sure they're going to watch this, and I'm sure they're going to be like, oh yeah, maybe I can get my tracks on there too. But it's good that you're putting this out there like this.
Absolutely, yeah. So the criteria is you're welcome to reach out to us directly. If you do own or control archival recordings, as I mentioned, so actual recordings that were recorded in 1980 or earlier. Also, if you exclusively own and control authentic world music or contemporary pop or hip hop music in other languages, we're always looking for more of that, because we do get requests like that from time to time. Also, if you've been signed to a major or a well-established indie label or publisher, we welcome people to reach out to us directly. So if you have one of those three things, then we will be happy to refer you to one of the libraries directly. Otherwise, the best route is to go reach out to the libraries directly yourself.
All right, good stuff. And I was going to let you go. I was, but now that just drew one more question.
Sure.
So I know that you service the United States and Canada, but if someone in another somewhere else wants to use your music, how would they be able to do that?
Great question. So for our legal agreements, we only have legal jurisdiction to license in the US or Canada. Now, what does that mean exactly? So it's projects that are synchronized in the US or Canada. So if you have a client, and I had a call the other day who was mixing a track in Canada, but their client was based in Syria. But because she was editing it on a computer or a device in Canada, we can issue the license because she is doing the actual mixing and mastering on her own device in that region. Now, if you're someone in France and you are actually editing the production itself in France, you'll have to reach out to one of our partner companies, which are, I think it's EMI overseas or Universal Music Publishing. And I'm happy to, if anyone has a question about that, you can always email me directly and I can refer you to the right people. And another thing I want to clarify too is if something is edited or synchronized in the US or Canada, distribution can still be worldwide. So you're not limited to, broadcasting things in the US or Canada. We can broadcast it all over the world. Just for whatever reason, the agreement that was worked out is that it has to be edited on a device in the US or Canada. So.
All right. Understood. Well, thank you, Zach. This was wonderful.
Sure.
Thank you for spending some time with me on this beautiful day. And
Absolutely.
Do you have any final words for our guests or our listeners, I should say?
Nothing in particular. If anyone has any questions whatsoever, anyone's welcome to email me. Again, my name is Zach. My email is zsirlin at apmmusic.com, 2 M's in the domain. So yeah, I welcome any questions and rock and roll.
I'll make sure I actually put that in the description for anybody that wants that information and even to check out the great selections from APM Music. Well, thank you so much for being here and I really appreciate you.
My pleasure. Thanks so much.
Anytime. Have a good one.
You too.